my life, and I hope for at least some of yours, is never, ever, ever, ever pass up an opportunity to talk to somebody about veganism, particularly if they want to. If they're reaching out to you, it's okay. Do it. Whatever else you're doing, do it. And so I said yes. Now, again, the number of times this happens that I will start engaging someone at the checkout line, in the checkout line, someone who's in back of me who's commenting on whether it's the coconut fake, I don't even know what to call it, the coconut fake ice cream. I hate calling it ice cream. It's not ice cream. It doesn't have cream in it. The frozen coconut confection. Or it's, the fact that I'm buying, 6 heads of kale, or something like that. And someone will say, what are you doing with that? And I'll say, I consume 1, sometimes 2 of these things a day. But I have these conversations all the time with people. I mean, as I say, going to Whole Foods, the downside is I'm patronizing a corporation that is insidious in my view, because it is capitalizing. It is promoting this happy meat, happy eggs, happy milk, happy torture stuff that bothers me a lot. But the upside is that I have a marvelous opportunity every time I go, and almost every time I'm in there, I get involved in a discussion with somebody about veganism. And so after she finished going through the checkout line, we went outside and talked for a few minutes. And we got into a discussion which focused on the fact that, she said, why are you a vegan? Let me take that back. She assumed I was a vegan for reasons of health. And she started talking to me about, that she was curious about it, that she had read some things that indicated that animal products weren't good, and that she was thinking about it, and that she had really cut back on her meat. And I quickly followed up by saying, but dairy, as a woman, you ought to be concerned about dairy because dairy increases estrogenicity, hormonally sensitive cancers like breast cancer and things like that are exacerbated by dairy products, and so we had that sort of exchange, and then after a few minutes. And I'm not going to lie to you. I'm not going to lie and say that my moving the conversation in the direction I wanted it to go was, to some degree, influenced by my perception that my cartons of the frozen coconut confection were going to melt. And that concerned me. And now I was sort of thinking in my head as I was calculating this, what's the opportunity cost of my continuing the conversation for a really long time is, which I think would have happened if I didn't move it in a direction, is the downside is I'm going to have melted coconut frozen confection will no longer be frozen. And but the upside is she was really engaged and wanted to talk. So I just said to her, I said, look, I certainly think veganism is magnificent for your health, and I said, the empirical evidence is quite clear that eating animal products is killing us, and I think that that's fairly clear. It's basically stated in everything I read, and it's an ecological disaster. I said, but I have to be honest with you, that's not the reason I did it almost 30 years ago, nor is it the primary reason I continue to do it now. Yeah, it's got great benefits. I have more energy than people who are half my age. I feel great, and whatnot, and that's magnificent benefit of veganism. I mean, which sort of makes sense. You don't put violence in your body, and your body reacts violently. And so I said, but I do it for reasons of morality. And she said, really? And I said, yeah, absolutely. I said, that's the reason I did it 30 years ago. And I said, it's the reason, the primary reason I continue to do it now. I said, it's got benefits, and I am concerned about the environment, and I'm certainly concerned about my health and stuff. But the main reason why I do it is that, it's just morally, it makes no sense morally. I mean, if you take morality, if you like animals, or if you think animals, you don't have to like them. If you consider them to be members of the moral community at all, whatever else, however else you treat them, you got to rule out eating them or eating products made from them. And she said, did you see? She said there was a banner in Whole Foods, which was correct. There was a huge banner hanging from the ceiling, and I meant to write down what it said so that I could blog about it or include it in the podcast, but I didn't have a pen with me or anything to write it on, and I will do it at some point now that I know it's hanging there. But it basically was this banner that was hanging near the meat counter. It was hanging from the ceiling. It was a big banner, and it was something about how there's this animal compassion foundation that Whole Foods is promoting, and that we treat our animals humanely, or some nonsense like that. This is hanging near all the rotting corpses that Whole Foods is selling. And she said, did you see that? And I said, yeah, I did. And she said, well, don't you think that, that Whole Foods is making progress in this direction? I said, no, absolutely not. I said, first of all, I have no reason to believe, based on what I've read, that the animal compassion standards are resulting in any sort of significant welfare benefit for those animals. I said, I think it's a marketing tool. It's something which, Whole Foods is trying to project this sort of happy meat. The animals are sort of lining up and saying, please let me become a cow in the animal compassion program of Whole Foods. Please let me be slaughtered in a temple-granted slaughterhouse. I mean, in my judgment, this is so surreal. It's hard for me to wrap my mind around. But anyway, I said, no, I don't think that there's a significant welfare benefit involved. I said, but think about this. I said, you and I are talking right now about veganism, and one of the things that you are thinking about is, should you be eating happy meat instead of, and she thought the happy meat thing was humorous. I guess she had not heard that before. But I said, you're thinking about eating happy meat as a response to the problem. I said, you on some level think of this as a problem, whether it's a health problem, a moral problem, and an environmental problem. But your response is eat happy meat. And I said, this is the problem in a nutshell. You have people who are you have this idea that the solution to the problem is happy meat. And I said, this is going to cause you to continue to consume these products rather than thinking about what I'm talking to you now about in terms of veganism as a matter of fundamental justice. We can't justify consuming animals. And I asked her, I said, this is always a safe question, do you have, or have you ever had, a dog or a cat or some other non-human companion that you really loved? And she said, yes, I have a dog now. And I said, do you love your dog? And she said, of course I do. And then she started telling me about some dog that she had that died, and she grieved for a really long period of time before she got this one. And, she loves this dog, and she doesn't know what's going to happen when this dog goes. And I said, I understand. I said, let me ask you a question. I said, have you ever thought about what the hell is the difference between this animal that you love, whose death you fear, and the cow or the pig or the chicken or the fish whose corpse you're going to stick a fork into when you go home? And she actually had in her she had bought some fish, and Whole Foods sells these. At least the one near my house has these like huge fish corpses sitting in ice bins and stuff like that. And the whole fish, and they're quite large. A lot of them are, and they sit in these ice things, these ice receptacles, to keep their rotting flesh from rotting faster. God, how can you put that into your system? I just don't understand it. Rotting flesh, rotting, decomposing animal products, and we stick them into our mouths as they're decomposing. In any event, so we had this discussion, and it's interesting because Here, what is she focusing on? The fact that there's a banner hanging from the wall that makes her sort of feel better about this. Yeah, she knows that there's a lot of mistreatment of animals, and she knows, she's aware of this, but they're doing something. They're doing something. They formed the Animal Compassion Foundation, and they're selling Happy Meat. And this is a step in the right direction. No, it is not. It is a step backward.